man has accomplished what the American Mafia hasn't in 100 years.
They tried to kill my wife.
Frank Lucas is the most dangerous man walking the streets of our city.
This is my home, my country. Frank Lucas don't run from nobody. This is America.
So JD and I just got kicked out of the mall. How pathetic is that?
It's really pathetic.
Yeah, so here we are on the couch doing our review of American Gangster, which we saw tonight, the new Ridley Scott movie starring Denzel Washington as Frank Lucas, who was a black gangster in New York City, and this is a rise and fall story. Russell Crowe is the cop who's going to bring him down. What'd you think, JD?
You know, it's funny because I was trying to explain why when you see a really good movie, I mean, when you see a movie that's on a higher plane, it makes all the other crap that I've seen recently just seem that much thinner. You know, I mean, there are problems with this movie.
So you liked it?
Yeah, it's not perfect, but I'm just saying I don't have to try so damn hard to talk about what's good about this movie because it jumps off the screen. It's a real movie.
What is that you got?
What's what, man?
Yeah, that. What you got on?
It's a very, very, very nice suit.
That's a very, very, very nice suit.
The whole movie kind of parallels America's involvement in Vietnam. Vietnam is always on the TV screens in the background. Muhammad Ali's on the TV screens. We've got the civil rights thing happening. What's really interesting about it, though, is that it's told from this perspective.
So one of the things I really liked about the film was the fact that I really thought they glamorized and romanticized, as we typically do in gangster movies, the villain, but we have a tendency, because Denzel Washington is so charming, to look at him and at certain points you start rooting for the guy.
He's the underdog.
Yeah,
he's the underdog.
But I really liked how that at certain points Ridley Scott would cut to or go to a montage. There's one particular sequence where the family's eating Thanksgiving dinner, and there are cuts to heroin junkies who are overdosing on his products while they're eating dinner, and the juxtaposition of those two things I thought was really interesting and kind of helped to kind of bring you back and forth a little bit with your liking and disliking of the Frank Lucas character.
Yeah, and then they did the same thing with the Russell Crowe character, who is this guy who is such a stickler and such a moral upstanding guy that he returned $1 million, which is a true story. This entire movie is based on a true story, and but at the same time he cheats on his wife nonstop, and he's a horrible father. So I mean, there is. There's definitely a lot of moral conflict in this movie, and it's not the moral conflict that you usually get in a gangster movie, and that's why this movie was a little bit more special, I think, than a regular gangster movie.
So much more depth.
Yeah.
Than any other gangster picture, with the exception of Goodfellas, maybe, or Godfather, obviously. But that level of storytelling we're talking about with this film, I thought it was pretty sweet.
Pretty sweet. Is that a technical term?
The most important thing in business is honesty.
Bribery, extortion.
So Ridley Scott's painting this big canvas. It's an American epic story. It's called American Gangster, for Christ's sakes. It's not based on any kind of mystery. We know who's supplying heroin. We know that Russell Crowe's eventually going to get him. It's based on a true story. That's not what the movie's about. The movie is about these two characters being on different sides of the law, and when these two guys finally do meet up, Russell Crowe and Denzel Washington, a lot of anticipation. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's a payoff. It's a real payoff when the two characters finally do end up together in the last act of the movie. It really is a payoff. But it's really interesting how Ridley Scott and then the writer, Zalian?
Steven Zalian.
Zalian has constructed these guys as the American aspect of both characters is really interesting to me, because Crowe's character is this cop who's sort of above all the corruption in New York City, and Denzel Washington's character is kind of a gangster who's kind of above the mob. He's above.
They're both getting
somehow.
a hard time from the people around them in their fields. And then they get together and they've got like this kind of respect for each other.
But it's interesting how it's constructed as an American idea. They both mention in some sense their country or duty. You know what I mean? And that's a really interesting thing to play off of with those characters. So I mean, it's good stuff. It's all character driven, really smart, well written, and it's a really, really good movie. I'm giving it a solid rock fist up.
I am giving it a solid rock fist up as well. Why do we get all the cred? Why are we the country that gets to put American in front of everything, I mean, whatever happened to Canadian Bacon? That was a sweet movie. John Candy. Canadian Gangster.